Ever wondered how to make the perfect creamy tomato basil soup with grilled cheese at home? Well, you're in the right place. We're going to whip up a delightful bowl of warmth that's loaded with ripe tomatoes, aromatic basil, and a rich cream base. Complementing this will be the perfect grilled cheese, crispy on the outside, gooey on the inside. We'll start with fresh, ripe tomatoes, onions, and garlic, all of which will be sautéed to perfection. The heart of our soup is a smooth blend of these ingredients, along with some vegetable or chicken broth. A dash of heavy cream will add richness and a velvety texture. And let's not forget the fresh basil leaves for that irresistible aroma and flavor. As for the grilled cheese, it's as simple as buttering some bread slices, stuffing them with your favorite cheese, and grilling them to a golden brown finish. So, gather your ingredients and let's dive into the cooking process. Start by heating some olive oil in a saucepan and sautéing your diced onions and minced garlic. This is a crucial first step as it forms the aromatic base of our soup. You'll want to keep the heat at around medium and stir occasionally to prevent the onions and garlic from burning. Instead, you're looking for them to turn a nice golden color and become translucent. This process releases all the wonderful flavors locked inside these humble ingredients, and it's what gives our soup its depth of flavor. Now, it's time to add our fresh ripe tomatoes. As they cook, they'll break down and release their juices, infusing the soup with their sweet and tangy essence. This step is where the magic happens. The tomatoes will start to soften and mingle with the onions and garlic, creating a symphony of flavors that will be the backbone of our creamy tomato basil soup. Once the tomatoes have softened and started to break down, we'll pour in our vegetable or chicken broth. This addition not only adds more flavor to our soup, but it also helps to thin out the mixture, making it easier to blend later on. After adding the broth, reduce the heat and let the soup simmer gently. This allows the flavors to meld together beautifully, creating a rich and harmonious taste profile. As the soup simmers, you'll notice the aroma filling your kitchen. It's a scent that's both comforting and tantalizing, a sure sign that something delicious is cooking. Allow the soup to simmer for around 10 to 15 minutes. This gives the ingredients ample time to break down further and blend their flavors together. Once the mixture is simmering nicely, it's time to blend it all together. This step will transform our chunky tomato mixture into a smooth and creamy soup, the perfect base for our finishing touches. But that's a story for the next scene. Until then, enjoy the soothing process of soup making and get ready for a taste sensation that's truly comforting and indulgently delicious. Carefully transfer the soup mixture to a blender and blend until smooth. Now let's talk about this step a little more. Dealing with hot liquid can be tricky, so it's best to approach this carefully. You might want to let the mixture cool for a few minutes before blending, or work in batches if your blender isn't large enough. Once you've transferred the soup to the blender, secure the lid and blend on high until the mixture is smooth and creamy. This should take about a minute, but you can blend a little longer if you prefer a super smooth texture. Blending not only creates that creamy texture we all love in a good tomato soup, but it also helps to intensify the flavors, making every spoonful a delight. Now with our soup beautifully blended, it's time to return it to the saucepan. Pour the mixture back into the pot, being careful not to splash. Then turn the heat to low as we prepare to add our final ingredients. The first of these is the heavy cream. Pour it into the soup, stirring well to combine. The cream adds a rich decadence to the soup, giving it that signature velvety finish. Next, it's time for the basil. This herb is a classic pairing with tomatoes. Its fresh, slightly sweet flavor perfectly balancing the acidity of the tomatoes. Stir in the chopped basil and watch as the soup takes on a beautiful speckled appearance. Lastly, it's time for seasoning. Add salt and pepper to taste, remembering that it's easier to add more later than to take away in excess. Stir it all together and take a moment to appreciate your creation. With the soup ready, it's time to move on to the grilled cheese. But that's a story for another scene. Stay tuned to see how we transform simple bread and cheese into a golden, crispy delight that's the perfect companion to our creamy tomato basil soup. And with that, we wrap up our third scene. Take a moment to clean up and prepare for the next step of this culinary adventure. Remember, the best dishes are made with patience and love. So, take your time and enjoy the process. For the grilled cheese, start by heating a skillet and lightly buttering your bread slices. It's crucial to butter the bread and not the pan for that perfect golden crunch we all love in a grilled cheese. Choose your cheese wisely, something that melts beautifully and pairs well with our creamy tomato basil soup. We're going for a classic cheddar today, but feel free to get creative. Next, place your buttered bread slices in the warmed skillet. The key here is medium heat. Too high, and your bread will burn before the cheese has a chance to melt. Too low, and you'll be waiting forever for that perfect gooey melt. Now it's time for the cheese. Pile it on. Remember, this isn't just a sandwich, it's a grilled cheese. The cheese is the star of the show. You want a generous amount that will ooze out the sides when it hits that perfect melting point. Flip your sandwiches when the underside is a beautiful golden brown. This usually takes about 2 to 3 minutes, but keep an eye on it. Every stove is a little different. When both sides of your sandwich have achieved that crispy golden perfection and your cheese is deliciously melted, remove your sandwiches from the skillet. Let them cool for a brief moment. I know it's hard to resist digging in right away, but trust me, your taste buds will thank you. While they're cooling, let's talk about serving. Cutting your grilled cheese into halves or quarters not only makes them easier to handle, but also showcases that irresistible cheese pull. With our grilled cheese ready, it's time to serve up this delicious combo. Pair your perfectly grilled cheese with a bowl of our creamy tomato basil soup, and you've got a match made in culinary heaven. This pairing is a classic for a reason. The rich, hearty soup and the crispy, cheesy sandwich complement each other beautifully. It's comfort food at its finest. Enjoy! Now comes the best part, serving up your creamy tomato basil soup with grilled cheese. There's something incredibly inviting about a bowl of hot, creamy soup and a side of crispy, gooey grilled cheese sandwich, isn't there? It's the perfect contrast of textures and flavors. The soup is velvety and smooth, with a hint of sweetness from the tomatoes and a punch of fresh, aromatic basil. The grilled cheese, on the other hand, is crunchy on the outside, with a melting cheesy goodness on the inside. To serve, ladle generous amounts of the soup into bowls, making sure to catch all those flavors. Next, place your golden brown grilled cheese sandwiches on the side of the plate. You could also cut them into bite-sized pieces and float them on top of the soup as croutons for an extra touch of indulgence. And there you have it. A comforting bowl of creamy tomato basil soup served with crispy, gooey grilled cheese. Thanks for joining us in the kitchen today. We've taken a trip down memory lane with a classic comfort food combo, creamy tomato basil soup paired with a delicious grilled cheese sandwich. Simple, yet incredibly satisfying. This recipe is a testament to how a handful of fresh ingredients can come together to create a meal that's both nourishing and heartwarming. We started our culinary journey by sautéing diced onions and minced garlic in a drizzle of olive oil, creating a fragrant base that set the tone for the rest of the soup. The ripe tomatoes were then cooked down, releasing their vibrant juices and deep flavors. A splash of vegetable or chicken broth was added, and the mixture was left to simmer, allowing the flavors to blend harmoniously. After a quick blitz in the blender, our soup became a smooth, velvety concoction that was returned to the heat. A pour of heavy cream added a luxuriously rich texture, while chopped fresh basil lent a bright, aromatic note. Seasoned with salt and pepper, our creamy tomato basil soup was complete. But what's a bowl of soup without a side to dunk into it? And so we turned our attention to the grilled cheese sandwich. We lightly buttered slices of bread, loaded them with our favorite cheese, and grilled them to golden brown perfection. The result? Crispy on the outside, gooey on the inside, and oh so delicious when dipped into the soup. This is comfort food at its finest, a meal that warms you from the inside out, that makes you feel at home no matter where you are. It's a reminder that sometimes it's the simplest recipes that bring the most joy. And with that, we wrap up today's cooking adventure. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did and that you're inspired to recreate this recipe in your own kitchen. Remember, good food is meant to be shared, so don't hesitate to spread the love. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more delicious recipes. Happy cooking!